Self-reliance builds intuition. To be spiritual, we do not need to battle the world. We do not plant a garden in the middle of weeds that compete for the same resources. Instead, we create a space and we prepare the soil. It doesn't take much more than occasional attention after that. It's the same in being spiritual. In the right space, very little effort is needed. We leave the world at the door and we enter. Sitting in this contemplative, meditative space, if thoughts come, they come. If they leave, they leave. The same goes for our emotions. Do not attach your attention to any of them. Do not try and repress them. Let them come and let them go. It's like standing in a river, just letting the current and whatever it carries flow around you without grabbing anything, because these things are not us. If you create the right meditation space in which to simply breathe, you will naturally become more and more contemplative. It doesn't become something you do, but something you are. You pray without ceasing. When you live life as a question, you no longer seek answers. You seek awakening. And this is where synchronicities play a role. As magical as they are, there is something ephemeral, elusive about them, where understanding is just out of our grasp. That is them calling to us to cross the chasm of ambiguity to the truth on the other side. In our stretching, we live in a way that considers that ambiguous truth and filters the days of our experiences accordingly. As our experiences validate that truth and ourselves as measured by it, we are able to restate it, that truth, in our own individual lives, giving it tangible meaning to ourselves and to others. Now, with having lived it, even the vibration of our words and the strength of our body language have an authority that was absent before. In this way, we bring it home. All else is counterfeit. Again, this should be effortless. Before my NDE, I was as guilty as anyone else at making it harder than it had to be. Spirituality was a war with the world, where you counted your bruises and the fun you did not have at the end of the day, and you were proud of it, or I was proud of it. If there was an opportunity to thump my chest to anyone about it, all the better. And I unfairly judged others who were not as hungry for a fight as me. The reboot I got from my NDE was so ass-kicking that all of that simply fell away. You don't need to die, or nearly die, to get to this place. For those of us who have, it's like a 2x4 upside the head. But there are those who are wiser, who may only need a word, a whisper, or a nudge. But interestingly, for experiencers who have NDEs, with horrendous events facilitating them, those events become a footnote to a much larger story. Without the NDE, the accident or illness that delivers us to the door of death would be the story. Think about that next time you listen to someone's NDE experience. I want to go back for a moment to feelings and emotions. I recently read that meditation is taught in prisons. As you can imagine, there is a lot of guilt among many of those who are incarcerated as they go to bed every night and wake up every morning looking at the world through a set of cold steel bars. Meditation becomes meaningful to them when feelings of guilt surface, but they just let those feelings enter and exit without reacting to them. Over time, they see they are separate from their emotions, their thoughts, their bodies, and their minds. They are simply here to observe. If they do not take possession of any of these propensities or things, then there's no guilt to feel. Thoughts may be measured as good or bad, but raw emotions are not good or bad. They simply are, and indicate what is important to us. Feelings only become wrong when we act on them. If a person has a desire to do wrong, as the world measures it, And even though that thought and emotion plague them every day of their lives, they will not have sinned if they never act upon it. Show me a court that can sentence you on the basis of only your thoughts. Of course, as we think, so we become, which says that this is the start, not the end, to the practice of letting go. Over time, by depersonalizing ourselves from our thoughtful and emotional activities, our attention naturally turns upward and inward, and with each step toward the light, the pull of the world lessens. Things naturally fall away. If you can find a community or even a teacher you resonate with, then you can test this. In their company over time, do you perceive a change in how you think and feel about things? If the typical sins listed in religious or history books surface in your mind less and less, you may want to spend more time with these people. It may not be so much what they say or do. It may be more like when one tuning fork is put near another one, which is already vibrating. If it is in tune, it will also begin to vibrate at the same frequency. What effort was required? None. What is observer mode? Well, think of a cat sitting there watching a mouse hole in the wall. It waits, almost unblinking, without being distracted. It is attentive and engaged, but still in silent, just waiting. There is a readiness to move in an instant, based on its curiosity of when the mouse will reappear. That's how we sit in meditation, or walk, or drive, or live. Don't just consider the question of life, but feel it in all its perplexity. When we try and answer a big question, such as what is life about, or even who am I, we know we do not yet have the answer, nor can anyone else really give it to us. They just give us their answer, or their take on the situation. But to ask the question is to admit we do not know. We ask because we are the question. We are a work in progress. Not knowing grants that humility, helping us to awaken to the question. And that makes the answer irrelevant. Awakening is the journey, the flow, the becoming, the present, the art of letting go. There are many types of meditation. There is no best one. Some do well to sit or even lay down. Some walk. Some do it in practicing yogic positions or the movements of Tai Chi. Really doesn't matter. Just find the one that works for you and practice it as best you can. Don't be too hard on yourself when your mind resists. If it does, bargain with it. Give me this 15 minutes and I'll give you 15 minutes after. Then do so. Honor your bargain and give the intensity-hungry mind the stimulation it needs. Make a friend of it, and one day it will remind you to go meditate because it wants what comes after. And then increase your time beyond 15 minutes once you have the trust of the mind. Then it becomes a wonderful servant, though it is a poor master.